Retrospective vantage point of the place you are and what you've come from. Some find God, some find it hard, most find it difficult or let down the guard.
You nervous?
A little bit.
Don't be. It's just a conversation. The only thing is that we have, all this shit in front of us. So I wish I had somebody just dedicated so we can talk, and if I'm trying to recall something, they could just, look it up for us, or whoever I'm talking to. I don't know. Like I said, my recall's not that great, so I would like to show that I know what I'm talking about. I just can't recall like the website or whatever.
Or where you saw it. Yeah, I get it.
Yes. Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to Crash and Chug. We have our next guest is a friend of ours, and she goes by Liz Arruda. Did I say that right?
Arruda.
I probably, there's Portuguese everywhere. Like, you did that wrong. Damn.
We take it.
Yeah, so, and I wanted to bring her on. We can get into her background a little bit, but she's a Army veteran, and we've had deep conversations about different subjects, whether at dinner or just hanging out or wherever. So naturally, I like to have people on that can bring something to the audience as well as myself. It's more, I hate to say it, but it's more like selfishly for me, because I love I'm naturally curious about people and like the conversation, why they do what they do and why they think the way they think.
And we are all similar in the same way. So whatever is helping you or the curiosities you have, it'd be similar to me. And that's why I love so much to talk to you and Cindy, is because I always find that in a way we're so similar, with different interests, but we feel or gravitated towards the same things most of the time. And so and then like through that, I think that's one of the biggest things. Most people focus on the differences of people. That kind of spurs racism and all kinds of different discrimination because they're different and people fear what they don't know. So with that, I don't know. I'm not the smartest person in, or the sharpest crayon in the box, but it's just happenstance that if we can find the similarities, and that a lot of times that happens through this podcast in the course of the conversation, that, hopefully we can share that perspective with others and maybe help them find a different understanding or a different way of thinking through that. Definitely. New paths and open up their minds to new experiences. That's the most important thing. Yeah. So
how'd you, one of the things I enjoy doing, because I can't pay for my guests, so anybody that comes over, I'm really grateful for them to, share what they want to share, but more so like spend their time with me within this room. And one of the ways I get back to is, cooking something for them.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So you wanted brunch.
It was amazing. It was just like...
you could be honest. You don't have to...
And I'm being honest,
I know,
because I love food. Thing, right?
Yeah.
My food, and it's just my thing. And that was delicious. Like the perfect amount of spices, just the perfect kick. And the meat, I'm still can't believe that a meat can be that soft. It's just like almost melting in your mouth.
Yeah.
So that was delicious. So... if you get a chance to come to the podcast just for the food, it's worth it. Oh my gosh, that was great.
Oh man, the bar set high now. People be coming in. I'm gonna have people like, oh yeah, it's all right.
Oh no, it was really, really good. It was. Let me tell you, I wouldn't trade for any of the restaurants out there. It was that good.
Well, thank you.
So
I appreciate the compliments. Maybe that'll entice more people to want to come on. But yeah, with that, so kind of give us a little bit of your background.
Well, I'm just a crazy Brazilian. I'm born and raised in Brazil. Came to this country like any other immigrant, looking for opportunities and stuff. And I don't have a military background as far as family, in the past. But I just my sister was in high school, and she was invited to go meet with a recruiter. Mm-hmm. But she was freaking out. She was so scared. And I told her, I was like, don't worry. They're not going to force you to do anything you don't want.
Well, shit's home, right?
So I said, I'll go with you. Being the older than she was, the more wise and responsible.
Right.
And I just went with her. And the more he talked, the more I saw myself in that situation. So that shows you I wasn't wise whatsoever.
And this was in Portugal?
No,
Or,
here in the U.S.
Okay,
Yes, we were already here, and I was a lot older, working, struggling 2 lives, working 2 jobs, trying to pay for college, so it was just a mess, finding like nowhere like near the light or a future on what I was doing. So the more the recruiter talked about it, the opportunities, the education, and the ability to also travel in a way, and it just sounded so good. And she never signed up. I ended up signing up, joining the military.
You're like, you're lost, my.
And in a month or so, I was being shipped to basic, and that was history. To be honest, at that time, my English was still pretty crap. It still is, so I apologize if I
don't apologize.
mess up on
Mine's pretty
anything.
shitty too, and I've been here the whole time.
But I couldn't understand, to be honest, I couldn't understand a lot. I was able to communicate. So I ended up signing a contract, not even knowing what I was getting. I went through the whole testing, the SVAB, selecting careers, and all I knew is I was going to be in the medical field. My understanding that I was going to be just a medic. And I was happy with that, went to basic, was shipped to AIT, and when we were about to graduate, my drill sergeant tells me, like, oh my gosh, you have a long time of school ahead of you. And I'm like, well, what do you mean? And he's like, I was like, I'm just going for 12 weeks. Like, he's like, no, you're going to nursing school. Like, you have at least a year and a half of schooling ahead of you. And I was like, no, you're wrong. So he grabbed my contract and showed to me that I had the page 1 was for medic, but then the page 2, I was supposed to become a practical nurse, and I had no idea. So, but it worked out. I finished both schools. I went to my first station, worked in at a hospital, spent my whole time, almost 10 years, 9 months, and 9 years and 11 months in the hospital setting and deployments, but also with the caches like inside a hospital. And coming back, I went back to school through the military, became a dialysis specialist, dealing with, like more critical patients. And so that's really me. I thought I was going to go to be a medic, became a nurse, and became a dialysis nurse, and that I loved it. I loved it every single day, and that's my little piece of background in the military.
Yeah. So, what year did you come in?
I came in 2004, and I retired in 2014.
Okay, so it was post 9/11.
Oh yeah, and it was intense because not having family in the military and having to tell my parents I was joining the military was one of the hardest things I had to do, because my mom knew we were a country at war, but she really didn't understand our military culture or what war means, because we don't have that in Brazil. We'd never been to war. But it was really hard, telling her. I remember to this day was one of the hardest things. And when my drill sergeant came, my recruiter came to pick me up, it was really sad because she was like, it was like she had lost her daughter.
Oh, wow.
Right then and there, So it was a really crazy experience. But yeah, it was right after 9/11, and I was okay. I was okay with my decision, not knowing what to expect really, but I was fine. But my family was not.
That's crazy. Like, because my mom was trying to push me out the door.
Oh,
because the neighborhood we grew up in, she was like, there's nothing here for you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And in my mind, I was like, I remember we got in this big old argument because of it. Because, like, she was like, it was my junior year. She was like, what are you going to do next year? And I didn't know. So I just kind of reacted in anger and whatever. And we didn't talk for a while because she was trying to convince me that. And I was just saying, like, dumb stuff. I look back on them, like, that's dumb. Like, But fast forward, like, it was coming close to it. And she made me go to she was very religious. So we had to go to not had to, but I promised her. And we went to some Billy Graham revival downtown at the Alamo Dome, because I'm from San Antonio. For those of you guys don't know, and there was a major speaking there, and she kind of, whatever she said, I can't really remember, but it was her, it kind of just started shifting my perspective, and I was like, well, what else am I going to do? I don't want to go to college, one, because I fucking hate school.
No.
Two, it was, I didn't have money for college, and so even if I wanted to, I couldn't go anyway, so it was kind of like my next step, right? Like that, I don't got anywhere else to go. I saw the obvious, like, there's nothing that that's probably good for me here if I stayed or whatever, because I was getting I don't want to say I wasn't getting in a lot of trouble, but it was a lot of close calls where I just kind of knew that I'm surprised I'm not dead yet, by all this shit that's happened to me to this point. So, for her, like, she didn't know I was leaving, and then when I told him I was leaving, I was like, I had like maybe like 2 weeks left or something before I had to go, because I signed for the DEP program without them knowing, because I had graduated. And then I went to the recruiter, and I did it without their knowledge. Actually, I did it on 17 or 18. I forgot when it was, but it was like 6 months in depth. But so it's different experiences, right? I mean, she was sad to see me go, but at the same time.
But she knew it was going to be good for you because, like you said, you were so close to get into a bad situation.
Yeah, she didn't even know half of it. I'm pretty sure she assumed, but... I mean, parents, they know. I mean, good parents know their kids.
Yeah.
Whether they want to admit what they are or not, that's a different story. But, yeah, so you went in the military, and that basic training must have been a culture shock for you. It's for everyone, but...
That was the funniest thing ever because my drill sergeant thought I was retarded. It's so embarrassing to say. Yeah. But I mentioned that English was not great back then. And I didn't know any of the commands. I didn't know or understood whatever he was telling me. So I had a 5-second delay. I would have to watch what everybody else was doing in order to do, because a lot of the commands he was giving, I didn't understand. Right. So towards the end, he actually told me that he thought I was retarded when I first started.
Dang, you're a sergeant?
I was like, but I was just laughing because I knew exactly. Imagine you having this person that you say to do something, she does, but like 5 to 10 seconds after everybody else, So I just start laughing, but that was just the language barrier, you know. Like I knew enough to communicate or to ask for food or get by or you know, like tell something I needed, but I really didn't know the language, and so it was, besides the extensive like hours and exercises and literally changing your life around, with time for everything and hurrying to use restrooms or eat or everything. It's so crazy, but the cultural and language shock was probably the hardest part for me.
Yeah, I bet.
But it was interesting, and I went in with a different vision. I was already 26 when I joined, so I was pretty much like, I was not the oldest. There was another gentleman that was older than I was, but one of the oldest for the entire platoon, and actually for the entire company. But I mean, my mind was in the right place. Yeah, I went with, I know what I'm doing. I know what I want from life, and I was able to keep up with all of those 18-year-old, like, and in the top shape, or coming from high school doing, sports and stuff. But so it was hard, but I knew what I wanted from it, you know, so I just never gave up and kept going, and was able to graduate basic and got promoted in basic, and then my career just started from there. So. Yeah.
So, man, so you had school for a while then, and then, like, when was your first deployment?
Less than 6 months after school.
Dang.
I got to my first duty station in February of 2006. By July of 2006, I was mobilizing to go. I was at New York at West Point then, and I had to join the 28th Cache out in Fort Bragg. So I had to go there for a whole month just to integrate and, do the whole mobilization process. And so that, for me, was a lot harder than AIT and basic training together, because now things are getting real, you
Yeah.
know, and you just don't know what to expect, and never had anyone to tell me. You know, I didn't know other veterans, and now you don't get to know them in AIT. You don't get to really know much of it out at West Point because you're just dealing with cadets. And so it was very like a scary time for me that whole month, and meeting a group of people that were like tight like a family because that was their unit, you know.
Right.
I was the odd man coming in, so that was really intense and scary, and you just doing your job to the best you can and following orders, but it was a very lonely feeling. I don't know if it makes sense.
No, it does, because I mean, you have a lot of things that, like the language barrier, I'm pretty sure you're still trying to adjust to, and then you're trying to figure out the ops tempo of the unit. You got to figure out where you fit in. You got to figure out what the strengths are and weaknesses of the members, and then they're also accepting you. They don't know, like, if you know you're worth your weight in salt, you know what I mean? Like, you have to earn their respect, and there's all these kind of like back and forth and these different dynamics that kind of play into it.
And that takes time, right?
It does.
And you don't have that time. You're running against time because all you have is 1 month. And in that month, that is a list of things that you have to get done. And so that time for bonding, for trust, and, you know, and it really doesn't happen. Most of the people I deploy with, they became great friends and, you know, like almost family, but that didn't happen until after we were already deployed. So that mobilization period was very, very traumatic, very stressful for me because I didn't have anybody to go back to the hotel and, you know, or talk about how stressful the day was or how scared I was, you know, from the journey we were going to go to and stuff like that. So, but I mean, we got through it, and that's all. Like, and it was just one of those things in life that you can just learn from it, and understand that no matter how hard or difficult things are, you know, if you persevere and you stick to it, it will pass, right? And it felt like an eternity, but it was just a month, you know, and we moved on to another phase. But so yeah, it just served as another life lesson, and we deployed. We spent 2 weeks in Kuwait, left Bragg, went to Kuwait, from Kuwait, and we moved to Baghdad. We were in the green zone at the hospital in Baghdad, and we were supposed to be there for 12 months, but then right before our deployment ended, we got an extension letter. That's when they start extending the units, I believe because of cost and all that stuff. And we ended up staying there close to 15 months.
Damn.
So.
Yeah, that's a while. I know, like, so some of the things you talked about, and then like also trying to comprehend the idea of war, right? I mean, that's something, even a country that is used to the idea of it, but don't really know what it is, and they're so desensitized to what war is. I mean, whether it's like video games that they're influenced by, or anything, movies or whatever, it almost glamorizes it. And trust me, I'm not like the most seasoned war veteran or anything like that, but I mean, I have my own experiences, you know, as we all did. But with that, you have to kind of adjust to that, and then, you know, adjust to being away, a different country, and then all these different things. And then while you're on the ground there, you're having to, you know, see or deal with certain things.
Yeah, that is like on its own. It was a total different beast, you know, just like, I think that the fears that I was having during that month of mobilization was nothing compared. Like, I couldn't even imagine what I would be seeing or experiencing, you know, like, because I had never deployed. I never, you know, been in a war zone, and nevertheless, like, inside of a hospital where we would see everything, you know, that would happen outside the wires. And I wasn't prepared. That's the truth. I wasn't prepared for that. And it was, but then at that point, you also know you have no choice, you know.
Right.
It's just like you got to find a way to either suppress those feelings and move forward, or you're just going to crumble. And at that time, crumbling down was not an option because we were so overworked and overwhelmed with, you know, patients and that you had no choice but to move on and just suppress all your feelings or what you were thinking.
Right.
But as a human, that we all know that's impossible.
Yeah.
You know, you can push your feelings down for just so long, but I mean, a lot of people don't know, but I remember crying myself to sleep for months because I just couldn't sleep. I couldn't get everything that was so new and so raw, you know, out of my mind. And I would just cry and cry. And eventually my eyes were so tired and swollen from crying that I would be able to close them down and fall off into a rest of some sort, you know?
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, you make your choices, right? And you're gonna have to deal with the consequences, being, you know, good or bad. And that was the consequences of my choice of when I chose to sign up. And I knew there was a possibility, and it happened. And I just at that point had to do the best I could.
Right.
But it was, I mean, for me, it was the worst time of my life, but it was also the best time of my life. You know, I think I've never learned so much. I have never grown so much and as a person, as a human, you know, as I did being there and seeing the things I seen. And I believe that I was very blessed in a way to be one of the humans that figured out, like, I knew my purpose in life at that point. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
It's like, it was very rewarding to know why you were born. I had to be here.
Right.
I had to do this. I had to meet these people. You know what I'm saying? It's just like, if I wasn't here, you know, I know somebody else would, but
Right.
at that point I understood why I was in this world.
Wow.
And that is one of the best feelings ever to have, you know, to know your purpose in this world.
Yeah.
But it wasn't easy.
Right.
But for every good thing, there is a price, right?
Right.
So that's how I take it now. But
Yeah. So compartmentalization is definitely a skill that we learn quickly in the military. I mean,
yeah.
just balancing life stressors and then whatever, you know, is in front of us, and the mission. It's always mission first.
Mission first.
Mission first. So with that, you kind of learn, you know, to put others first than yourself. That brings its own problems, and we can get into all that. So you had talked earlier about like the cohesiveness of the team or lack thereof when you were in training, or the, you know, the ramp up to it. Like, how did that like evolve like over the deployment?
oh my gosh.
Was it like, you know, a couple of weeks or just like right away?
Well, it was pretty much right away, because then it's like that. You realize that's all you have is one another, right?
Right.
And it doesn't matter what color you are, where you're from, your gender. It doesn't matter.
Right.
That's all you have, right? And we have to fulfill this mission, and you couldn't do it by yourself. So when you realize that, it's just everything goes out the window, you know? Does it mean everybody was the same, that we had the same interests, or it was not, you know, a person with negative feelings or whatever? Yes, but the bad is always going to be there. But
Right.
we had to overcome all of that real fast, and because we could only rely on one another. And at that time, everybody was feeling the same. We all had fears. We all were overworked. We all had, you know, like, we all missed our families. It was just like the feelings are the same to everyone. So all of the other negative things just go out the window.
Yeah, you ain't got
know?
time for that shit. you know?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, and that's when you realize that I was like, man, you know, this is my family for the next 12 months. You know what I'm saying? And and if you don't realize that, you're just going to struggle the whole time. But for me, at least, it was really, really fast and furious. You know, that was my family. So.
And that's part of it, right? Like, so I've seen some people join the military. I'll speak to myself more specifically, like, but early on, the first 3 to 6 years, I didn't really buy into it. You know what I mean? Because I always had the understanding, even though I deployed within that time, I had the understanding like I was going to get out.
No.
You know what I mean? So I wasn't really accepting this life to a certain extent. And I wasn't, even though I worked hard and I deployed, I wasn't put like in those situations yet, you know. I'm not saying the same situation, but like relatively stressful, where you were just working long hours, where, you know, months or whatever, not days off or whatever. But with that, you know, once I kind of accepted that idea, that kind of shifted everything for me. You know what I mean? And so for you to kind of be in the place where you accept it like right away, and then go through everything you kind of just described, like, you know, the kind of, you know, bombarding like traumas. Kind of forged you.
Crazy reality.
Yeah, that forged you and your purpose. Mm-hmm. That's pretty powerful, because if you had never accepted like your place there, that would have been even a longer deployment.
And we saw people like that, and those people, some of them were not even able to finish the deployment, and they were not new to the unit, you know. But that's, like you said, is about shifting your perception and how you see the situation, you know, and that is going to dictate how smooth. It's not going to get the problem away. We're still deployed. We still have a mission to, you know, fulfill. But I think when you shift your perception and you're able to see from different lenses, or at least understand I have no choice, you know, like better dive into this and face your fears, you know, like the situation, and you at least have a better chance of success or having an easier time, right? That is no way to make a deployment easy, but you can make it really hard. And by accepting that, that's what I understood. I was able to count on other people, you know, that had my back, and really good people that I knew that I could sit down and have a talk. I could sit down and joke around. I could, you know, because then they became a family, versus you're not accepting that and going through alone. That is no way you can do as a human, despite of military training, you know. So.
Yeah, and is there something that, do you remember the time that you kind of shifted that perspective? Like, was it, I don't remember like the day and the time, and like, no, but more as an incident that you're just like, all right.
Well, I believe it was just like, for me, example, like that trauma, that's all we saw, right? 2006 to 2007, Baghdad was the #1 trauma center of the world. So there was no one else seeing more trauma than we were, right? They call it the bloodiest time of the war. So you need to talk. You need to somehow at least push it out, some of the feelings, and by understanding that you have to do. And that's what shift is, when I realize I need someone by my side, you know, or someone that will at least listen to me, and that goes beyond just a little joke around or whatever. You need to bond with somebody in order to have the type of conversation. And I think it was just the amount of trauma that I was exposed to in a very short time, that it didn't give me any options but to rely on somebody, put my guards down, be, you know, vulnerable, and allow others into my life. And that was my only way of survival at that time, you know, is just realize that I needed others. And that was very, very early into the deployment. So, because you can't just see that much and not discuss, or not at least talk about something that will give you the motivation to wake up the next morning, or give you hope to keep going. You know what I'm saying? Doesn't need to be talk about the traumas per se, because sometimes that's the last thing you want to do is talk about that. But it's just get into a deeper level conversation with another human to keep motivated, you know. And I realized really soon that I needed, and I think that's what shifted my perception, you know. Is like, I need to make real friends fast, you know. I need to go somewhere and talk about music, or about family, or seeing pictures from back home.
I'm glad you brought that up, because like I was going to ask you, like, how did you keep that balance, like on that specific deployment? Like, what did you do to like keep the balance?
The #1 thing was we start working out.
Yeah.
There is no other thing. It's just, you need to let that frustration, that anger, that, you know, like, you need to let that out. And for us, like my greatest friend there, our thing was to go to the gym and, you know, let's start working out. And it wasn't because we wanted to be healthier, being in better shape. I think those all help, but at that time you don't really have much options, you know?
Right.
So it gave you that great feeling after a good workout of kind of like, it gives you that happiness, you know? It goes into the scientifical view of releasing some hormones and all of that.
Endorphins
So that's all you have. So we had a great gym. Why not? Let's go, you know? Let's push it, all of that stress out in a way that it was healthy, and thank God we had that. But we also took like a few hours to go to, they had like the palace or whatever, you know, that we could go walk in there. Or they had a pool. Sometimes they would do small like 5Ks or whatever. So whatever we could do, we would, you know, to break the time a little bit, you know, and sleep a lot. Definitely my continues like at least 2 to 3 times calls with my family. All those little things helped.
Right.
But working out was the number one thing I would say. It keeps you balanced a little in a different level.
Right.
Yeah.
So like after, like, I imagine, do you still stay in contact with any of those people you were deployed with, or?
A lot of them, yes. And some I don't talk close, but we have each other on social media, so we still see each other's lives, what we're going through, and then we all celebrate the greatest accomplishments, you know, through life, because it's really nice to see how many of us changed after deployment and found different paths, and, you know, like now have other things to be proud of, and being professional or family, you know, like kids and stuff like that. So, but some of them I still maintain really close relationship with.
So yeah, that's good. That's good, because I mean, it's good to kind of stay in contact with those folks, especially like since you guys like share so much with each other. And I would imagine that you guys don't always do that now, but if the time comes, they may be able to contact you, and they have a way to contact you. And that's one reason I'm still on Facebook. Like, if not, I wouldn't be, because most of the people I served with are on Facebook. But yeah.
And it's so hard to keep up with. People move so much these days and change numbers or addresses. So that's exactly the same feeling I have. Like, I don't per se like social media so much.
Right.
But it's the only way I know I can see everybody. I can stay in touch with everyone, you know, and in a way feel close to it.
Right.
You know, like...
I had to shift my focus around social media, because I just kind of focused on the negative parts of it for a long time. And once I understood, like through experience, and you know, you're good.
I apologize.
You're good. How dare you cough on this podcast? Nobody's ever.
Oh my gosh!
You
got
good?
too deep.
Yeah.
No, I'm fine.
But yeah, I had to shift my focus around what the goods of what social media could be, because if you really are just aware of all the negatives, you know, you wouldn't want anything to do with it. Or if you actually knew what the negatives were, then you wouldn't want to be part of it. Especially when you see like documentaries such as The Social Dilemma and like Childhood 2.0 and stuff like that. Those kind of just, you already knew there was problems, but it actually articulated why the problems are, and then even went deeper into that. Having said all that, like, I had to shift it. Like, all right, if I'm going to do this, why am I doing it, and how am I going to do it? And I've kind of did a lot of, you know, testing, in the sense of like, you know, figuring out what my niche is, and I'm still probably doing that. But it's really just to try to raise awareness for, you know, suicide prevention, or at least share part of my story when needed, you know, to try to help others that are in the place to hear it. Yeah. And that's kind of one of the many things that this podcast I would hope do, is to kind of share people's experiences and stories, and kind of help others in the process. But also just talk about wild shit too, you know, that, you know, aliens and all kinds of stuff. But so after that deployment, how was the transition?
Well,
like back to
very dysfunctional.
Rotational, your base. Shit, most of us are.
Oh my gosh, that is like so interesting, because every time you were at a different phase, you always thought that phase is the worst you're going through until the next phase comes. And then you realize it's like, gosh, that phase was nothing compared to this one. So it was very dysfunctional. I mean, for me, I understand that now. I laugh about it now, but it was no joke. It was no laughing matters. It was just very, I would say, shocked by everything. I didn't know how to deal with everything I had just lived through. And it's just sad because as a soldier, even the military expect you to come back to the normal as a normal person, but at that point you're definitely not who you were anymore, you know. And but then you have this expectation, you know, from mainly your family and friends that they don't know what you've been through. They don't know you know, what happened. They have an idea based on Hollywood and, you know, like movies and stuff of what war is, but for them, it's not their reality, right? It's just a thought that comes to their mind once in a while. Oh, yeah, she was at war. But on a normal day-to-day, no one knows that. No one lives that, just you. You know, they're still living their normal life that they were doing for the past year and a half, or whatever that you were gone. And they expect you to fall into that routine. And they are looking for that daughter, that wife, that sister that left, and that person is long gone, you know? So it was a big adjustment, a big shock as well coming back. And it was sad in a way that now I see the returning to certain groups as a big challenge. Like, for example, I know the military offers a lot of programs, right, for military with mental health and going to counseling and all of that. And they offer groups, like classes for family members and that. But then again, I found myself alone because my parents didn't speak English. And there was no such a group out there that could tell them what I was going through, you know, or that I could bring them to understand how to deal with people coming back from deployment, you know. So in a way, it was just me swimming in the ocean all by myself and just having, like, and I was taken from my unit, right, the 28th Cash, and sent back to West Point. Now I was with a group that had no idea what I had just gone through.
So you had to train up the new people?
I was just taken away because the 28th is stayed at Fort Bragg, and I had to go to my regular duty station up in West Point. And the people, I don't say that I was in a disadvantage, but I believe it was probably a little easier if I had stayed at Fort Bragg.
Right.
You know, with that same group and going through, you know, a normalization with them, doing therapy with them, doing assignments with them, going to the field with them, you know, because we all knew what happened and what we were dealing with, you know. But when I was sent from Bragg back to West Point, at West Point, I didn't have a single soul, you know. And so it was just, you're taking again from your family, right? The people you created this great bond, and you were sent to another place, and now you have to adapt again. And the people I left at West Point when I deployed, most of them had already PCS, and now there was different groups, you know, different NCOs, different officers, different doctors, nurses, and everything. So it was intense.
So what I'm hearing, like, and as you talk, I'm listening, but I'm also thinking about my experiences, right? And but it sounds like, because every time I went back to, like, from a deployment, like, it was hard. I didn't realize at the time, but I thought everything we're doing was stupid. Like, there's like, because a lot of times when you're like in Garrison, you're doing a lot of stupid shit. You know what I mean? Especially our shop. We were having the commander or whoever would call, because I don't know if we were like just the strongest people in the squadron, but they would call us oh yeah, we need some furniture moved or this. It sounds like simple to do, like just do it, you're getting paid, but it was like, why the fuck are we doing this? Or even like doing jobs, like it was just so minute, like the minutia of just being back in Garrison, and there's like, you kind of coming from a deployment where you can actually see like more direct impact on the mission.
Yeah.
It just seemed like made everything stupid, for me anyways. But for you, it would be like exponentially, because I don't want to say exponentially worse, but more profound, because whether you realize it or not, when you accepted your purpose on deployment, and if I'm wrong, you can tell me you're wrong, but when you accepted your purpose on deployment, and then you had that community, on deployment, and you had that family on deployment, and then you went back, not only did you go back to stupid shit, you also were taken away from your community and your purpose because of the level of mission, and then like put by yourself again, where the language barrier and like the experiences were not understood by those.
Yeah. And
you're like, damn, dude, you're bringing me down again. Yeah.
What am I doing? So how can you not be lost, right? How can you not just be like, what is going on here, And I remember, like, even though I was still at a hospital, but the hospital at West Point is not a trauma center. We are not even a level 1 hospital, So most of the things we had was like elective surgeries and stuff like that, or cadets that would get injured during sports and stuff like that, maybe ran a marathon and developed rabidol or something like that. But like you said, they become so insignificant, and it's still in the medical field, right? It's still injuries and things that needs to be dealt with. But as a nurse at that point, coming from the trauma center that I was, and all this major, right, crazy things that you can only imagine. You see it, amputations, like injuries to the eyes or the head, or gunshots and stuff like that. To go and have like a freaking like knee or surgery or a finger surgery because they were throwing a basketball,
they got drunk
stupid or whatever,
broke their ankle or something.
I lost a little bit of a sense of compassion. It's sad to say, but I did. It wasn't them. It was me, I just lived in a high for so long, of all this excessive amount of injuries and traumas that when I came down, I had lost touch with my caring nursing heart, like I had no compassion from those people So your
baseline was set high.
Very,
or readjusted, I should say.
Messed up. And
which makes sense.
I was just like, instead of going there and doing my best and taking care of them, I remember one case of a cadet that had a finger surgery for whatever's a thumb that he broke or something. And after the surgery, he didn't want to get up and walk in the hallways, right? And that was my job, to get him to get up and go walk. So he could get all of this toxicities on his lungs to start moving and get out of his body. But he was in pain, and I couldn't associate with his pain because in my mind, that was not painful because I've seen pain. Does it make sense? It's just like, it was so insane, but it's not his fault.
Right.
That's the max pain that he had endured in his life. So on his perception and life experience, that was extreme, right?
Right.
But my perception and my experience, that was nothing.
Yeah.
And I was really blessed then to have an NCO that saw the fire coming through my face, and his mom came to visit him, and the cadet finally got out of bed and went for the walk, because I talked to his mom. I was like, listen, I need him to get up. It's been so many hours from surgery. He needs to get, so she got him up and walking, but he was using his mom as a crutch type of leaning on her. Exactly. And I'm like, I think I started boiling when I saw him coming down the hall, and I started kind of rushing towards him, really mad. And my NCO just saw it and grabbed me and took me to a back room. And she's like, just breathe. She said, I don't know what she saw on my face, but I was extremely mad and angry. Yeah. And, I was like, how dare you? Like, our brothers and sisters are dying, and struggling with, like, IEDs injuries. And, and I was like, and you're here? I was like, be a man, in my mind, I couldn't fathom, like, what's going on here,
Right.
And she just took me away from the floor, and she made me do breathing exercise, and that's when I realized I need help. You know, it's like, this is not right. I am a nurse. I'm supposed to care for every person and respect their level of pain, their level of what they perceive to be pain and injury. And I was at a total, like, dysfunctional level of what life is and pain is and injuries represent, you know? So, and that's when I realized everything else that had been changing in my life. Like, I couldn't go to the malls because I would just, how can these people be in here all happy? First of all, it's just the amount, the crowds was getting me so anxious. But I was, how can they all be here celebrating Christmas like nothing is happening?
Don't they know?
Don't they know what is going on over there? So it was, but it's not their fault, right? It was my fault because they honestly don't know, and we don't do this to make them suffer everything we're suffering over there.
Yeah, I'm gonna stop you. Like, it wasn't your fault. I know what you're trying to say, but it's not your fault. It was just like your baseline was reset. Like, you were more aware of it than anything. So it was just like your reaction, like as anyone reaction that kind of went through that level of trauma.
Yeah, it's not their fault
you
or
weren't
my
doing
fault.
it
was
weren't
just
doing it
an imbalance, right? Yeah,
right.
I got you. But that helped me realize, meaning is my fault, meaning I need help. Does it make sense?
Got you.
I need.
So you were taking, like, you were aware
of
how you're reacting, and you decided to be accountable.
Exactly.
Like, I need to fix.
Why is this bothering me so much? You know, like, and at first I started volunteering to redeploy back to back 5 times, and I was denied. I just want to go back. I want nothing to do with this world. I wanted nothing to do with being here. You know, I was really, in a way, disgusted. I don't know if that makes any sense, but
I mean, it makes sense. It makes sense to me. I mean, I think a lot of people that will listen or that listen to this that are veterans or have been in similar situations, it'll make sense too.
Yeah.
Because people will ask, well, why? Like, if it was so bad, why'd you redeploy? I'm not saying they would ask me, but I've heard them ask other veterans. But I would have the same thing. Like, when I would get back into Garrison, it wasn't the same thing. But I was like, why the fuck am I here? I want to go back. I want to deploy. And that's what I did. I mean, the Air Force was different, like, in the sense, like, where you would deploy with a unit. At least me, I would deploy by myself. Like, we had a smaller footprint, and then we would deploy to wherever. And the way the deployments first came down when I first came in, you just had to raise your hand. Like, your team chief would come up and like, hey, we're looking for somebody to deploy. We can't tell you where. We can't tell you when. You just got to deploy. And so I was like, I don't want, like, I'll go, you know. I don't know if fuck I'm going, but I'll go. And that just led me where, like, it was a crapshoot. I don't know where I'm going. It wasn't until, like, 7 years in that they started to actually come down with buckets. And there was, like, the blue and gray or whatever. There was, like, these buckets you would fall in, and then you would deploy. Mm-hmm. And you kind of started to become aware of your deployments, but you just still didn't have a choice of where you're going. They just sent you wherever. Yeah. So it was always a crapshoot. And then we would have to deploy by ourselves, get there with the others that were coming from different bases, learn each other, and then by the time we got spun up and we're working in a flow of things, we had to redeploy back.
So you would meet with your group, like, in theater, like, not even like mobilized somewhere. And, oh my God.
Maybe they changed that since I retired, but
that is insane.
It was wild. Like, a lot of times I was just going by myself out there and didn't know what to expect. I remember one deployment I was going into Kuwait. I had been there before, and I had to be in place, like, no shit. Like, it was a Thursday, like, you got to be in place Saturday. And so I had to go to Persco and do all my processing by myself, bag drag everything. They didn't even have time to get my uniforms. So, like, I just got, like, DCUs, and they were with no fucking name tags or nothing. They deployed me out there, and luckily I'd been there before, but they sent me commercial, right? All the way there because I needed to be in place. Granted, the threat level wasn't as bad, but it was still a threat because nobody was there at the airport to pick me up. And the senior master sergeant I spoke with was like, spend the night there at the airport. And I'm like, I'm not fucking spending the night here. Luckily, I knew of Camp Wolf, which is right off. That's what I was going to ask you, where you're at in Kuwait. But Camp Wolf is a base right outside of KCIA, Kuwait City International Airport. And so I found some Army guys And then I just followed along with them. I got on the bus and I went over there because I was like, I'm not fucking staying at the airport. It's stupid.
Wow.
The next day when I got to the next day I had slept like on a transient tent or whatever on the floor or whatever. And somebody came in and was like, hey, I'm here to pick up 2 comm guys to go back to Jabber. That's where I was at. And so I thought they were there to pick me up, you know, because there was only two comm guys in there. So I went with them. And then as soon as I got to my base and I checked into my unit, I saw that senior master sergeant, and he grabbed me by my shirt, my blouse, and he fucking pulled me outside, and he just started chewing me out. He thought, and he wouldn't let me talk, he thought that I had a girlfriend in, I'm trying to think the people that used to issue Sato. He was like, you must have had a girlfriend that got you a commercial flight. He thought I was going commercial because I was too good to fly on a rotator. And yeah, so that was a whole shit show. And it was a guard guy. And I'm not saying all guard is shit or reservists.
No, but
there are some. I mean, that's
exactly.
active too. But yeah, it was just a shit show. But with all that, so I kind of wish we would deploy in units so we can kind of get that cohesiveness prior to going and kind of build that bond prior to going there, because it would save so much time. But with that, you know, coming back to Garrison, like I was talking about, I didn't want to be there anymore. You know what I mean? I just wanted to stay deployed. So with that, like, how did you? Well, one, it's like huge for you to kind of recognize that. What was the first step in trying to tackle that?
Well,
awareness.
I would say my mental health path started actually while I was still deployed, and but I never gave continuity to it. But we had a major incident that shook our hospital really bad, and that's actually when I started needing chemicals like medication to be able to function and finish our mission. So I had to go see a psychiatrist while we were still deployed, and I was put into some, anxiety medication and some sleeping pills because I was already dysfunctional then. But returning, I probably didn't grasp the severity of the situation, and thinking going back home, everything would just fall back into place. So that's the part that I was a fool. So I took a gap, in between. I stopped taking all of the medications and counseling and whatever, and trying to get into this normal life. So finally, when I realized that I really needed help, that it was more than I could fix on my own, then I started going back to the mental health units and doing counseling weekly and medications. And my medications just start increasing, and because I don't think they were really prepared to grasp what was happening. We had a lot of psychologists and psychiatrists that had never deployed, or some civilians that I don't think they truly understand. So the most help I really found was talking to other veterans. Most of the time, that's what would help me calm down, but it wouldn't get me out of this high that I was in my real life. I was seeking a lot of I would say dangerous behaviors, engaging in I bought a motorcycle and I rode the motorcycle home without ever being on a motorcycle. Going crazy, drinking, working nonstop. So I engaged in a lot of unhealthy behaviors for a long time of my life, despite of being on counseling and taking medications for both anxiety, depression, sleeping. And I was on heavy medications for years, but it wasn't really dealing with the problem. It's just take this and go to sleep. Take this and your anxiety will be okay. And I was just more and more doing things that it was completely not my norm. And at one point I looked back and I just, like you said, I didn't know why I was still alive, doing all these things that I wasn't trying to commit suicide or anything like that, but I was actively searching for things that was very harmful. Driving on 35 from San Antonio to Austin in the middle of the night, screaming, over 90, 100 miles an hour, just like looking for, I would say, relief, but I could never find a relief. And
maybe you're chasing, not in a good way, or a bad way. Either way, I think your body was chasing that baseline.
Oh yeah,
the high ops tempo, where you're always going.
Yeah,
I used to do a lot of that too, like speeding a lot, drinking a lot, fighting. I would fight a lot, so much so I had to start staying home.
Wow.
Because I don't know, maybe it was my resting bitch face or what, but whenever we'd go out to bars and stuff, I would end up in a fight. I would go to work and I would have scratches on my foot. But I don't know if that was prior to me joining, and then it got worse, like through experiences in the military. If I'm being honest, I think so. But at the same time, it's crazy because it was the same stuff. And I don't know, looking back on it, it was a lot of stupid shit. But
I know. But I mean, that's all we know at that point. You know what I'm saying? You don't even realize you're doing that kind of stuff sometimes. I mean, at least for me, most of the time, I didn't realize how dangerous it was. But I felt like now looking back, that's the only rationale I have, is that I lived on a high for so long, right? I got addicted to that feeling of, like being on the go all the time, like, and feeling like you matter, like you're important, you need to be there, you need to be doing those things, or not sleeping, right? Going like shifts for like 20 hours, sometimes over 20 hours a day. And I think I got addicted to that. And coming back and not having that, I was trying to find a way to fulfill it, and unfortunately, that's not a way of living. Not here, not,
right.
Not back home, not with your family or your friends or in society in general. Because if you're constantly seeking or, that adrenaline, or, like, you will die, or you will eventually,
will find it.
Exactly. Yeah. Eventually you will find it. And I think I was just really blessed in a way to not find it, or being close to find it and not really getting hurt, And I think that's something that a lot of us go through, is just trying to find that pace, that rhythm that we were living while we were deployed, and that is not offered here. There is no way for that to be safely lived in this society, But then, I mean, as time goes, I think I never really found treatment. I never found the help I needed. I hurt a lot of people. I hurt my family dearly, and they were the ones that deserved it the least. Does it make sense?
No, it makes perfect sense.
I was just like, but I didn't know how to do it different. And they were just there by my side no matter what.
Do you think you were trying to just push them away?
Oh,
like, because that's what I used to do. Like, looking back on it, I didn't realize that then, but it was like, I don't want to hurt you, so get the fuck away from me. Exactly. Like, I don't want to be anyone's burden.
Yeah, because you're doing it, you are somewhat awake. You know you're doing it, but you don't know how to stop. And the same thing that drives you to stay alive, which is your love for your family, right? I don't know if it was for you, but for me, I love them so much, and that was the same thing that it was causing me to push them away, because I knew I was hurting them. I didn't understand how bad. Now I know how bad, but I knew I was hurting them. And that would make me feel even more like shit, Yeah. Because I had no control over the things I was doing, or sometimes of the things I was saying, or even over my choices. I know they were my choices and I'm responsible for them, but I wasn't completely in control of them, you know? So I didn't know how to stop. And I'm just really glad that I was able to, keep on finding different phases in life that kept me occupied and didn't, because that's all I wanted was to stop. Right. I wanted to be normal. I wanted to, be my old self. And that is something that I think hurt me so bad, is that I was grieving the loss of myself as well. Right. I missed me. I missed being happy. I missed having great times with my family, you know, but I just didn't know how to get it all back. And so now, 2006 to 2022, so 14 years later, I still struggle with stuff that I lived through, you know, but now I'm able to manage. So it didn't happen over time.
Right.
I mean, overnight. It happened over time.
And I don't want to speak for you, but it's also like probably like a daily thing, right?
Oh,
you
yeah.
catch yourself in old habits, and then, at least for me, that's what I do. Like, I'll react in a certain way, and then I have to like reel it back and apologize, because I mean, whatever I'm doing in that moment, and I'm interrupted, not realizing it. Like yesterday, a guy came and knocked at the door, and I didn't expect it, and I went to the door, and I don't know what face I gave him or what, but I told him he was trying to sell me solar panels, and I just kind of like, again, my resting bitch face or whatever. And it could also be because they've been breaking into cars here or whatever. I don't know. I had that.
So there was a threat level.
And I was also being mindful of his time. Like, I don't want to let you do your spiel if I'm not going to buy anything from you. So I was like, nah, man, I'm good, whatever. And then I just closed the door. But I saw the look on his face as I closed the door. I literally walked around the whole fucking neighborhood looking for him to apologize, like for about an hour. Because I felt bad. Like, what if he was like another veteran, you know? What if he was trying to better his life?
Exactly.
But with that, it's that awareness, right? That I constantly have to work on, you know, and constantly. So, like, for you, it sounds like you try to do that. Maybe not as much as you had to, like, forcefully back in the day.
Yeah.
But it does come, at least from my experience, it comes easier with time because you're able to catch it.
Yeah, exactly. You become aware of it more and more. So, and you start developing new habits. And the thing is, like, shifting, like you said earlier, and that for me resonates so much, because it's always shifting the way I see things that helps me, you know, kind of grow or develop better habits, you know. But it's just shifting my perception every day, you know. It's just like, why is this bothering me? You know, is that really worth, you know, like, does it need to be that way? And sometimes it's just accepting or being humble enough to see you're not perfect, you know? And that's what I need to remind myself, because I went from demanding from others and not having compassion, and then demand from me. There was a time where I was just like, you have to be perfect. You have to do everything right. You need to take care of your family. You need to do good at work. You need to be promoted. You need, you know, and I was just... I went from one extreme to the other, you know, so I was completely detaching, pushing everybody that I cared and I loved or cared or loved for me away. And I started just putting all that pressure on myself. And it was just another dysfunctional way of dealing with things. So I think I went through several stages of until finding what I believe now. It's a more balanced way. It's not a perfect way,
right? Because
it's like you said, it requires work, and it has to be, you know, like an everyday thing,
right?
But I feel it's healthier, it's a little more balanced, and gives me the ability to make memories and be happy. You know, I'm not going to tell you I'm back to who I was. I probably never will. That person is far gone, you know, but I'm able to live a more healthy life. Like I'm able to enjoy the people I care and love about it, you know, and they are able to be close to me and make those memories with me. So hopefully one day when I'm no longer here or they're no longer here, I won't have so many bad memories to rely on, you know. I will be able to live those better memories now that slowly but surely we are, you know, engaging and developing. So,
and yeah, and I commend you for that, because a lot of people, they don't want to do the work. They don't want to, because even now when I have to check my own ego or like call myself on my bullshit, it hurts sometimes, you know, like to tell you like you were wrong or just something that basic, and then you have to eat your words and have to go apologize. It gets easier over time, but it still sucks.
But I guess it's like you said, it's putting the ego aside, right?
Yeah.
And we are not taught to do that as we grow, and not even by your family or your school or whatever. You're just always feeding your ego. You're always competing. You're always wanting more. You always want to be the best. And so it's hard to be humble and put the ego aside and understand, hey, I have responsibility here. I also did something wrong,
Right.
and that is the hardest, I think, for us as humans, because that's not normal for us, and
Yeah, I was talking to Sandy the other day, and I was talking about like the idea of the balance of ego. Like the ego can be beneficial for you,
oh yeah,
but also could be your worst enemy, just like anything else. The yin and yang. There's two extremes on everything.
yeah,
Even within the bad, there's something good that is from it if you're able to see it. But with that, it's also, I kind of touched on this earlier when you were talking about pushing your family away. That's like a form of love. That's like the different variations of love. Like there's tough love. There's love where you're cariñoso, or like, what's the word, English word? You're very affectionate, like, physically. And there's that different levels of love. And that's, I mean, I've come to understand that, like, that's what I was doing. Because I love you so much, I had to stay away from you to keep you from myself.
exactly.
And that served in many different relationships that I wish I handled better, but I didn't, and yeah, so it's the process is trying to understand that and have compassion for yourself, and then try to fix it going forward and try to better yourself,
Yeah, and that is the only thing I can do. Like, if I go back and then start, just nagging or regretting my decisions or choices, I'm just going to create a whole nother problem, right?
Yeah.
I did the best I could with what I had,
Yeah.
and that's the truth, right? So, and understanding that now is just like, how can I make it better? So I'm honestly, in a way, constantly in competition with myself to be better than I was yesterday, and that's my only goal in life. Is just like, I can go back, I can't change the things I did, but I can't change the things I seen, so I can't just keep on, harping on myself for things I did or I did not do, because it was my best at that
Right.
point. So now I try to just look forward and, open my eyes today, and what can I do different today
Right.
to be better than I was yesterday, and that way I believe, or at least I feel, that I'm constantly growing, because I'm not comparing myself to who I was 10 years ago or 5 years ago, but simply to who I was yesterday.
Yeah.
And if I'm better than that, then I made progress, you
Yeah,
know?
definitely.
So that's the way I live now, and trying to find better companies. I had to clean my life a lot of people
Yeah.
and situations that were not healthy for me,
Right.
and just this understanding that work involves everything, every aspect of your life. And now I try to be more around people that are in the same frequency of energy that I am. That they're not that they're just like me,
Right,
no,
or better
than
you,
me, but people that are in that same process of evolution,
Right.
and trying to be open and be better than who they were yesterday, and because there are people out there, not that they are bad people, but their energy will drag you down.
Right.
So I found out that part of me getting to where I am today, it required a long analysis of the people I had around me, or that I was allowing around me, and not, like I said, they are bad. Their behaviors were good or normal to what they've been through life, but it wasn't for my life, and that was a hard part to do, because it's not easy to let go of people,
Right.
right?
Especially if you're a loyal person.
Exactly. Yeah. But even friends, or even sometimes a material thing, it's not something easy to just let go, right? You have to put a little thought into it. And it hurt a little bit, but it was needed. So now I'm very cautious of who I allow in my bubble, of who as far as compassion and care, I was able to balance in a way that I went back to have compassion for everybody.
Yeah.
I will help anyone. I don't care what you did, who you are, your past, like, I don't care. But because compassion is something that you can't put measure, I just compassion for this people or this group or this animal or not that,
Yeah.
So no, I learned to be compassionate again. I worked on myself to get out of that high standard of, just being compassionate for the big traumas, But as far as allowing you in my life, I know I learned I had to be very careful, of certain energies
Right.
and frequencies. So I don't know if that makes any
No,
sense.
I mean, it makes sense to me. I
Yeah.
think people listening are probably tracking it. I think they get what you're understanding. If not, at least gives them a new thought process to
Something
explore.
to look into it. Yeah.
But yeah, it's the same thing with me. Like when I decided to put drinking aside, and like I didn't know what I was going to become after that. Like I didn't know if I could still be the same person because I identified with it so much. I mean, culturally, military, prior military, that's just what, and I created rituals around that without even realizing it. But with that also came with, really finding out who, like, and it just happened. Wasn't my intention or anything like that, but people just kind of fell by the wayside, that were in my life, whether family or friends or anything like that. And it's not anything or like, it's just the way it happens. And I kind of hear that often from people like on the same, I don't want to say the same path, but a similar path. It's almost like we're all walking, in the dark, trying to find the light. And we kind of just bump into each other on the way there to the middle. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And it's just like, hey, what's up? You're
Like
going this way too?
Yeah,
Like,
it's like, oh.
it's kind of the same thing. Like some of the conversations we had and like the way I come to meet you was pretty wild. You know what I mean? Like I didn't realize like one that I don't think Sandy told me, but that you were a veteran, one. And not that it would have mattered, because I do love riding bikes. That's just something that's kind of another rung that's kind of helped me out of that. But so we'll kind of once you kind of came to the understanding, you put in the work, you exited the military. I assume you didn't deploy after that?
No, that was my last
Okay.
deployment. I still stayed until 2014.
Right.
But then my health just started declining and declining after that. So there was no other deployments. I wasn't physically able to do much anymore.
Do you feel that? Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
Oh,
But do you
no.
feel like stress attributed to that?
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
100%.
And based off what you know now,
Yeah,
we'll get it.
because
Yeah, go ahead.
I was a very, very active and healthy person, like always engaging with everything from waking up early morning to do PT, even with people that couldn't pass their PT test, would
Right.
start earlier, like to go for runs and stuff like that. So I had always been very active and very, in a way, like built big, but very muscular and very able to go on, like my stamina to go on for hours of like workout and go to work and get out and go to the gym. And after that, my health just to start declining and declining and declining, and no one could explain to me why. And it became like this pattern of take this medication and go home, take this medication and go home.
Yeah.
And always adding and never subtracting. I
Right.
don't know. It's just so odd because every time I would be feeling different and have a complaint or something, I would be adding to my list of medications. And I was like, when is that going to be a cure? Where they're going to start taking those medications away? But mind you, I was a nurse, and I did understand the body and the anatomy and physiology and all of that. And I fell into the trap that was just like no tomorrow. Because for me, I was finding or looking for a solution, looking for a relief that it wasn't on the medications, It was deeper than that, and no one could point at it. So they just kept on making me, in a way, even more unhealthy.
Right.
Because now I was not just dealing with the things that it was mine, but the side effects of all of the medications that I was taking, and by not recognizing and not giving me the proper care, or for me not to understanding the care I needed, I developed conditions that now I have to live with that I didn't have. I wasn't born with, and being one, the number one was PTSD, but then I also developed fibromyalgia, and it wasn't through a major car accident or anything that usually triggers, right? But mine was just trauma.
Stress induced.
Just the stress, and I didn't know like how high my nervous system was, as far as like tension and pressure, stress, and all of that, that it it reached its maximum, and now my signals are completely haywire, just going everywhere.
Right.
And that's pretty much what fibromyalgia is just your pain signals are just being, released by
Just
your
like
brain, just
misfiring. Yeah.
misfiring, sending pain signals everywhere where there is not even pain, right? So you're constantly just waking up and you're stiff, or you have a knot, or you have like pressure points everywhere, so you're never comfortable because you're constantly in pain. But I wasn't like that. I wasn't born like that. It's just that no one detected how much stress my nerve system was under, and now here I am, and for the longest time I would go to sick call and I would be shutting down my having back spasms and everything, telling them I'm in pain, and then I would go through the normal triage, x-rays, and no fractures, or you're fine, take some Motrin, go back home. And it was like that for over 3 years, to a point where I was even told to my family, my family was told that it was all in my mind, meaning she's crazy, she's making it up. And, like then they start treating you different at work because they think you're just being lazy and you go into sick call to get away from doing PT, And honestly, it's not until I was so constricted, like my muscles were so tight and so much pain, and the more pain I would feel, the more my muscles would contract, that it put me on a wheelchair. Because I couldn't get out of bed on my own anymore. My range of motion was completely limited. Every muscle in my body was just like tight and like a rock. So that a doctor was able to say, okay, that is something really wrong here, Maybe she needs to see a specialist, not just a primary care. And sure enough, they ran some tests for autoimmune conditions and sent me to a rheumatologist, and that's when they realized that at that point I had the DNA, like the genes of lupus. It hadn't been developed into a disease yet, so now I'm like constantly monitored or tested for it. But then I had developed fibromyalgia in the process, and my body shut down in a way because I was struggling with pain for so long.
Yeah, it's trying to protect itself.
Exactly, that I lost completely range of motion, and the only way they could help me was to send me to a rehab center for people with rheumatoid arthritis, and I was for almost 4 months doing physical therapy on a heated pool.
Damn.
To loosen up my muscles and to regain motion of, control of the ability to move my arms, my legs. And, that's when my mom moved in with me, because I couldn't bathe. I couldn't put my clothes on. I couldn't, I couldn't go to the grocery store and walk the aisles. It was just really debilitating and humiliating in a way to go from being so active, so independent, being a soldier, and and all of a sudden you need somebody to kind of put your underwear on, it's just like so surreal. But I mean, after that they start doing trials with different medications and to see what worked for me, what didn't. I was able to go to counseling for group therapy for people with fibromyalgia, and that was like the best thing I did, because that's when I learned what the condition was, and that's when I started taking more control. I learned how food affects my life, like how sugar creates all this inflammation and it makes the signals go more intense, because now you're building inflammation. And at that point, even though for them they were seen as just like, oh, this is a support group, so you guys can feel sorry for one another. But for me, that was very empowering, because they gave me the knowledge I needed to start tackling the condition, and then learn what I could do to help and what I should stop doing that was affecting so much. And I think at that point was 2014 when I was medically retired, because I had no chance of fulfilling my duties as a nurse or as a soldier. And that's when I had to go to intense therapy. And I just been on and off physical therapy since then. I've been on and off, like different programs and counseling therapy and all of that. But it wasn't until really I started TCM and feeling more, curious about balance in life and understanding the laws of life, the yin and yang, and understanding how much power we have over our own life, and making certain changes based on those principles, that I started to be myself. My last surgery was in 2018. I had a disc replacement on C6, C7, and at that point, I was again unable to have motion. Like the nerve was compressed in such a bad way that I couldn't lift a cup with my left hand. I had lost completely, like the ability to move my left arm, and the pain was like excruciating. It was nerve pain constant, couldn't sleep or anything. But now I know that I could have done things to help and prevent that. But today I'm able to live with still 5 bulging discs on my lumbar area and another one on my cervical area. But I do everything, and that's when it comes to how we met.
Yeah.
And I did with you something that the military, the doctors, and, society told me I couldn't do anymore. And that's how I feel like about meeting you and Sandy, and how blessed that was for me, because I feel like meeting you guys caused this shift in my mentality, kind of like stop focusing on what you can do or what people say you are, or what you're capable of doing. Focus on your power, your inner power, and start breaking barriers and start doing, because you won't know until you try, right? And so I met Sandy in school, and we were both, doing the acupuncture and Chinese medicine. And one of our professors, Dr. Jessie, she said that she thought when she met me that I would get along with Sandy really well. Mind you, we were all doing online classes through a portal.
Oh, that's right. It was during
didn't
COVID.
even know what she would look like.
Right.
And when we finally reopened the clinic, she made me partner with Sandy. And it was like we hit it off the bat, and we've been like together in school since then. And she was really, I don't know, but kind to see my struggles with my physical, because I have my bad days still. But she started, hey Liz, let's go for a bike ride. And I was so scared. I was like, girl, I don't think I can do that, And she's like, well, we'll go for a short ride and whatever. And then you see, if you can, we'll turn back. And I was like, okay. So I'm just thinking, I don't even have a bike. I don't have a helmet. I don't have anything. She's like, no, I got it. I have an extra bike. And I was like, do you need help to get it? And she's like, no, I got it. And then all of a sudden, when I pull into the parking lot, there you are with this rack and then 2 bikes and helmets and everything. And I was like, man, for me, that was very surreal, because I'm not used to people doing anything for me or caring for me. You know what I'm saying?
Got you.
I'm usually the opposite, the one doing everything. So I was just so shocked in a way. I didn't even know how to address the situation, because it was not normal for me. I was like, man, here she's bothering her husband, like that, a dude that I don't even know. And now I'm like using their equipment, and I was afraid to fall and then, like damage the bike and stuff. But man, that was like one of the best experiences for me, because that day you were still injured. But you were
story of my life.
I know. But you were walking with your dog, and we went for a ride, and then all of a sudden I found myself riding for more than like 9 miles or something. And we rode for like an hour or so, and when we stopped and she told me the time, I was like, Sandy, I've been hearing like for the past 10, 12 years that I would never do that in my life. I thought we were going to go for a 15-minute maybe, right? because I couldn't. When she met me at that point, I still wasn't able to walk for exercise for more than 30 minutes without feeling pain. And that ride changed everything for me.
Yeah, and I'm glad I learned, like, through the course of taking people riding. And I didn't even know any of this, you know, obviously. I mean, I learned afterwards, after a conversation with you, but it was like, you know, I tell Sandy, like, let's just, even when you riders now, let's stick to the greenway. Let's, you know, they can get used to the shifting, they can get used to the bike and kind of relearn, you know, just being on what a bike is. And I'm glad, because I didn't know your background, because it would have sucked if I just took you down like one of the roughest parts. Like, come on, let's go, you got it. You know,
like,
you're all like,
call the ambulance now.
Have the ambulance waiting at the end.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's, and I just thought I was just taking you for a ride, because I really enjoy doing it. It's because it's done so much for me, and that wasn't even my intent. Like, I wasn't, like, when I go and I take somebody riding, I'm like, oh, it's gonna do all these things for them or nothing like that. It's just like, no, I really enjoy this, and I want to, like, if you're willing to go, I'll take you. And
perfect.
Yeah.
And that's exactly, I think, what I needed. There was no expectations. There was no, you know, like, pressure on doing anything, you know, and that, I think it made it so perfect, because everything you do in life, like, you go to the gym, that is this pressure to do perfect. You go to physical therapy, that is always pressure. And with you guys, I think that's why it helped so much. It's just there was no expectation there. And the way you said, like, it was very thoughtful. You guys put me on a paved path and got me comfortable and used to, because I used to ride. I loved ride when I was younger, but it had been like at least 2 or 3 decades since I've been on a bike, you know? And you guys made me feel comfortable with it until you start taking me on more of the trails and the natural paths. And that was great, because, again, at that point, without pressuring me to do anything, you guys just showed me how much more I'm capable of doing. And that's pretty much what that, I don't know if it was the physical activity, if it was the emotional relief, if it was the being outside, the contact with nature, you know, like, you took me through some really amazing places, you know, like, that I would never imagine seeing in San Antonio.
Right.
And I think so, or it was just a combination of everything.
I think it's a combination of all of
know?
them. It's like a perfect balance of everything.
And like you said, you can't put the expectation, because everybody will perceive and receive the action differently. Like, and I think I was just in the right state of mind to receive it. You know what I'm saying? I was ready, looking for something to shift my, you know, the next shift of my life, because periodically we go through certain shifts, and I think I was just ready, you know, physically, mentally, emotionally, like, I was just ready to shift a little bit, and that's what it happened.
That's good. I mean, I'm glad it had that profound effect on you, and because I see it with other people, not necessarily with all the, you know, complications and stuff that you may have, but where it grows your confidence, you know, because, and then when you kind of go back to life, it's just like, man, I just did this, you know, and I can do this now, you know, it's nothing, and you have that balance, but and that's good. I'm glad, but so I kind of want to go back to TCM.
Did I take you off path again?
No, you're good. No, shit, I do it all the time. I go off on tangents all the time, but I just kind of want to get an idea, because it sounds like when you did that one group, you started to become aware of how foods impact your physical health. You know, you hear it all the time, but people don't ever get the details, or they're not willing to do the details, or when they find out the details, I feel like if they're at least aware, then they can make the decision. Like, all right, I know what this does to me. I know the science, not the science, but like how it affects my physiology, and I'm going to still go ahead and do it, as opposed to learning it afterwards and then having to fight the addiction of sugar or whatever to try to overcome it. Because it's hard, man. Sugar is addictive. And, you know, I mean, I always go back to a study. It says in labs, rats were willing to work harder for sugar than cocaine.
I know.
That's crazy.
It's scary.
You know?
When you know that type of information, it's just, you realize how sick or ill we are as a society, you know, because that's a common addiction.
Yeah. And it's one that people don't think about, like that and alcohol. Like
Yeah.
and alcohol, you know, when it breaks down in your stomach, it turns into sugar.
Yeah.
Or is it sugar or insulin? Either way, but like, so that gave you the awareness, right? Of like, hey, these things are impacting my body. Did that curiosity kind of start you on the path to go down TCM? And then what is TCM?
Well, I think that it triggered, like, that was what it started really was pain management. When I was going through pain management for fibromyalgia, one of the doctors there, he knew a simple technique called battlefield acupuncture. And it's used among, you know, like soldiers in the battlefield that cannot have access to morphine or stuff like that to decrease their pain. But I wasn't aware of it. And when I started going to pain management, I sat down and there was this wonderful doctor that he asked me, what do you want? And he had that tough conversation with me, and I told him I want to get off, you know, any narcotics. I don't want to take any heavy medications. I don't want to be floating through life, you know, but I just don't know how, because every time I don't take pain medication and muscle relaxants and anti-inflammatories and going on with the list of meds I had, I was like, I just can't function. And he said, would you be open to try something different? And it might not work, but we can give it a try. And I said, sure, what is it? And he's like, well, it's going to hurt, but I'm going to put some semi-permanent needles in your ears. And it was the thicker ones.
Right.
And I did scream the first one because I wasn't ready.
Yeah.
But I can guarantee you, the moment he finished all 5, the pain, the general pain in my body had almost disappeared. It was such a good feeling. And I got to go home with them. They started falling like normal on their own time. And I was able to slowly get off a lot of medications, right? Or doses, decreasing the doses. But I completely got off narcotics whatsoever. And I was just needing lower doses of muscle relaxants and anti-inflammatories and anxiety medication. So that kind of planted a seed, I guess.
Right.
I did it for a while, and then he PCS'd, so I couldn't get any more of it. But I guess that was the first contact I had with acupuncture, right? I knew that it worked, and I knew how it made me feel. And also the empowerment, like I said, of that group therapy to know what my disease was and understanding instead of being there feeling sorry for me. I think I was at a place where I could see it in a different light and take more responsibility for my health, you know, so that helped as well. I was lost still because it was 2014. I did so many jobs after the military, went into business, got away from the medical field and altogether, but I wasn't happy. I wasn't happy, not just physically, but I wasn't happy with my life. It's like I'm working just for work, for a paycheck. And
Right.
I was like, I'm not happy. I'm not good for my family. I'm not being good to me, you know?
Right.
So my everything else was a little better, but my depression was getting worse and worse because I was just like, I don't have a purpose. I don't, you know? So I start searching for things I could do that was still touching people. It wasn't just so business, money, profit, you know?
Right.
That was not my normal. I couldn't see
Because that's
people.
probably wasn't your values growing up.
Exactly. And it was really sad to see. So it was killing me to do that. And just because I wanted to be successful getting out of the military and get into this field where I'm good at it, but it doesn't make me happy,
Right.
you know? So I look into massage therapist, and I couldn't do it because the demand on your body is just too much. And so the closest thing I found was esthetician. I went, instead of massage therapy school, I went to aesthetic school.
What is that?
Is basically when you're dealing with facials and, you know, like getting people to take care of their face's skin, like the skin of their face, and treat acne, treat aging and all of that. It has a lot to do with more of a superficial world today.
Right.
But the depth of treating someone's face and everything that the skin has as far as problems, disease, it goes really deep. But people don't take it for that reason. They just want to feel pretty, to get good selfies
like
and
vanity,
have a glow.
vanity.
Yeah. But it was close to still be touching people, you know, like, and I'm not, you know, in a setting where it's just computers and business. So when I got my license, I started working at a spa, and that was the best thing that could have happened to me because I had my own room and I could set up the room the way I wanted.
Nice.
And I went back to things that I believed helped, and such as aromatherapy, using oils, in my room. I had lights, dim the lights, and have different colors depending on the vibe. And I always believe in that stuff because I see how it helped me, to have a better night of sleep or something. So I implemented all of that in the spa room. And the music, the relaxation music.
Yeah.
And I learned massage of the scalp. And for whatever reason, my patients would get out prettier with a better glow. And people thought I was just this amazing esthetician. And he wasn't.
Right.
It was just that they were relaxed. I was just getting this negative energy or this weight of the world out of their shoulders.
Right.
And he was reflecting on their skin.
Because essentially you're giving... And I'm smiling because I went down the same road to try to find like better sleep. I went years without sleep, and then make things worse is I had sleep apnea the whole time I was in the military, and I didn't know. I didn't know until I got out, and I got CPAP now, and now my sleep's better. So I'm pretty sure that contributed to it. However, I'm kind of glad it happened that way because I went down these paths, with obviously suggestions from Sandy, which at the time I was like, I don't sound like it's gonna fucking work. You know what you're talking about, lady? But such as a Himalayan salt lamp in the room, so you're kind of walking in the room. It's not a bright light. Not having a TV in the room. That was probably the first thing that went away a while back. Because I always thought I had to sleep with a TV for some reason, because that's the way I grew up, not knowing it actually affected my sleep. So that Himalayan salt lamp, aromatherapy, all these different things that I never thought I would be trying. And it was also suggestion from my therapist and stuff. But going back to what you were doing is because a lot of times we get so, I feel that we get so, what's the word? We take our senses for granted not understand that, so you're essentially, what I'm trying to get to is you're pretty much doing therapy on all 5 senses. So like smell, touch,
the lights,
sound,
the sounds,
sound, lights. I even got into binaural beats and stuff, and I still do that from time to time. But yeah, meditation
and that it's like it has to be. You have to be open to art.
Yeah, definitely.
Right? And if you're not, people will that shit doesn't work. Or whatever, But I tried enough. I was open enough to see how it affected me, and it didn't take my problems away. I still have insomnia. Right. I still have fibromyalgia. Yeah. But if I can have a better night, I would take it.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's the thought I had about it. And by doing that in the room without even knowing, and people were open to relax because they were at a vacation or a spa setting or whatever. So they were literally open to anything. And I could see, and I did tests of people that would do without all of those things, and they still had a good facial. They still had just the basics, right? The products, put it on your face, exfoliate or whatever, versus the people that you actually get them to relax.
Right.
And because we are living in a world now that time is money, you got to be doing 10 million things at once in order to survive, right? We have to be eating, being on social media, watching TV, talking to the kids, doing the homework, reading a book. Or it's just incredibly tiring, And when you get people to kind of disconnect, they respond. But that wasn't enough for me, I wanted to know why are they responding. That's how curious I am. I just, when I see things or hear things, I want to know the why. Right. And I was like, this is not enough for me. I need to go back to school. And they were telling me I'll go to medical aesthetic. And I'm like, I don't want that, because that would go more towards the lasers, the Botox, and not that I judge you for doing it. I don't believe it for myself, right? And I was like, that's going to shift me back into that depression of not feeling a purpose because I'm going against my principles and my values, right? And I was like, that's not what I want. I don't want the superficial aesthetics, right? Or just do this and immediate response, immediate like results in this. No, I wanted to get deeper and deeper with that relaxation portion, you know,
Right.
of providing people the ability to disconnect in this. And I was like, start searching one night, awake with insomnia, not sleeping, and looking for, you know, programs that I could go to expand my aesthetic license into it. And out of the blue, acupuncture came up. And I take it as a signal.
Right.
I don't know why it came out because I never searched for acupuncture, but when I saw it, it triggered all those memories I had from having acupuncture myself and how that made me feel and how that allowed me to get off narcotics and not become addicted to it, you know? And I was like, there's something to it, you know? And I was like, it's still in the medical field in a way, is a different way of seeing. I honestly didn't know what to expect.
Right.
But we were PCSing. My husband was moving back to Texas, and I started looking into school, and I saw there was a school in San Antonio. I just to inquire, and all of a sudden I'm being interviewed by Dr. Guerrero, the director.
It is amazing.
I was like, okay, I guess it's happening,
Yeah.
you know? It's just one of those things that happens in life, and you can't explain how, but it's 2 years later, and I have no regrets. It's just like it's been literally the thing that has helped me the most in this journey to grow, to get off. Like I had 14 to 15 bottles of pills by my bed,
Right.
you know, along with my salt lamp and everything. Now I take it's 2 pills and a half, but one is a vitamin. So,
Yeah.
you know, it's like in 2 years for you to be able to do that and go on a bike ride and
Right.
still travel, you know, I couldn't travel far because I couldn't be seated for more than 2 hours
Wow.
because my body would start cramping and shutting down, you know. Now I've been traveling overseas to see my sister in Portugal,
Yeah.
you know, like traveling to DC while my husband is TDY. And,
Right.
and I'm like, man, this is life, you know, like being on a bed, on a recliner, you know, waiting for something to happen and see life passing by is not what I wanted. And I think a lot of things I kind of manifested in a way, that energy, and those things little by little start crossing my path, either through aesthetics, acupuncture, battlefield acupuncture, through going to school, through Sandy, or, you know,
Right.
a teacher, a professor thinking we would be good partners, you know,
Right.
through you guys coming and taking me on bike rides, through the principles of, you know, Chinese medicine and acupuncture. And it's really a preventive way instead of like a reactive, and we live on a reactive,
Right.
Western medicine is all about treating the symptoms once they already exist, and Chinese medicine is more preventing it from happening. You know, let's eat better based on your constitution, based on what your body needs or the deficiencies you have. You know, let's exercise based on who you are. So they treat us as an individual,
Right.
and not as
Just the symptoms.
exactly, or a protocol. Like you go to
Right.
the doctor, if you have blood pressure, check. I'm not saying that is not needed. It is needed because there's a lot of things that Chinese medicine cannot
Right.
do or provide. But that is more to it than just taking a pill or going through surgery. You know what I'm saying? There are things you can
No,
do.
I know exactly what you're saying. It's kind of funny because, as I said earlier, as you talk, I kind of think of my own experiences, right? Because that's just what I do. And it's not as about me, but I'm just trying to, I have to apply my own experiences to truly understand a little bit more, or like empathize a little bit more. But yeah, I kind of went down the same path, right? Just by happenstance. You know, I was on deployment, had a shitty, I mean, luckily I had a bed. I'm not complaining. But I just, you know, thousands of people or hundreds of people sleeping on this bed, you know, and you're sleeping on the same bed. And I woke up one morning after about a month of being there, and I couldn't get up. My back was just fucking locked up.
Wow.
So I, you know, went to sick call, and it's gonna sound fucked up, but like the doc that had me, I mean, he offered acupuncture, And the only reason I allowed him to do it, I mean, I'll probably get fucking canceled after this, but because he was Asian, right? And it's fucked up, but that's why I allowed him. But I'm glad because I don't know. In my mind, it's like I have the conception like if I go to a Mexican restaurant, I want Mexican people cooking. You know what I mean? I mean, my idea or my belief system around that has changed. You know, I've grown. I have more experiences. But, you know, he did battlefield acupuncture too, and he explained it to me what it was, and I was, you know, susceptible to it because I've always been fascinated with it because, I mean, another part of me when I was younger, I used to watch a lot of, you know, martial art films and China, you know, I was always intrigued by, you know, Bruce Lee and like, you know, just everything that was, you know, Asian culture. And that was probably like every kid that grew up in the fucking 80s, but that's what I was like. Anyway, so he gave it to me. I got relief, and then I never did it again, right?
Oh,
and going through it, because going back to what you're talking about, you went down the whole traditional route of what American medicine is, and there is a place for that. I tell people all the time, like, it's not one or the other. It's like our country seems to be always like, it's either this or that. You know, you can look at our politics, or you can look at anything that's been changed recently. It's like it can't be this or that. Nothing in nature is this or that.
There's always a middle.
There's always a balance with everything, and the fact that we try to make it this or that, and then we divide each other. Anyways, that's a whole different tangent. But my point is that there is a place for both, right?
Oh yeah.
You know, I broke my hand. You know, I want it fixed right now. Guess what? I'm not gonna. I go for the healing part of it. You know, but as far as like the plates and everything, I'm gonna go in right now. I want it fixed right now, so I'm gonna go see a doctor. You know, it's time to get in there. But on the other side of it, I knew that always stuck with me. That one experience I had, and then we're in Boston. We did like a Groupon, me and Sandy, to go do community acupuncture. So we went, and it was it was its own experience. I didn't like. I think back to the questions that or like the things I asked, you know, it was so like ignorant. Like, oh, I wanted to balance my chi. Like, what does that mean? You know what I mean? Like, but that's just ignorance, right? I was pulling off of, you know, but what I was really trying to say, like, I'm fucked up right now. I'm on all these meds. I don't know, like, why I got mood swings, why I don't want to be around people. Like, it was a number of things, but I didn't know how to say that. But that's what I was trying to ask them, you know, with that simple, you know, what do you want? Oh, that's what I want, you know? And then that kind of led me down the path. Maybe it intrigued Sandy. I don't know. You can ask her, but like how she got into it. But yeah, that kind of got me back into it. And then she naturally, or just by maybe a series of things that kind of led her to that, you know, she found her path towards it. And, but it was really trying to keep, you know, scratching at the surface, trying to figure out what's underneath, like, where am I, if you will. And that kind of, you know, I forgot how we got, I don't know if we ever saw treatment. I think when she started going to school, we got in connected with Dr. Guerrero and like Jesse and everyone. And, you know, I started having my own experiences more consistently. And of course, writing and the stupid shit I do gave me a lot more experience with that. So I got a lot more of a lot more to pull from as far as experiences, and I try to tell people about it, educate them about it. Yeah. But there's a lot of misconceptions with it.
Oh,
but
definitely, I think I had the same misconceptions starting the school or what to expect or what it was about, you know. And it's not until it starts becoming more part of your life that you start seeing. Right? Like everything else in life. But yeah, that is a lot of like, and I always tell Sandy and Dr. Jesse, and one of the biggest thing for me, like after we graduate, is do community education, you know, the necessity of preventing things from happening. We have that power, you know. Unless you were born with something, right? You're born that way. Like you have a heart defect or you have a general condition, you know, like something that you can't help. But just to navigate through life, just YOLO, you know, like which is nice, but
especially when you're young.
Exactly, but that is things you can do to prevent. Well, you can still YOLO and still be careful and balanced, right? We know it's always one way or the other, and it's not,
Right.
and like, imagine if you make one change in your life is one less thing you will be having to deal with,
Right.
when you get older or whatever. And we all do. We can't stop time. We're all gonna get older.
Right.
We all gonna have the pain. Probably, if I had gone through all those experiences when I was on my 18 or 20s, I wouldn't be suffering as I am now on my 40s, But it didn't happen. But the truth is, life happens. You age, and your body will start getting closer and closer to that expiration date, right? Which we all have. So why not do things that will make that process a little easier, right?
Have a better quality of life.
Better
as opposed
quality,
to like,
more manageable, being able to walk and travel. That's what I tell my parents all the time. Why do you want to be on a wheelchair with a walker on a nursing home or whatever? If it's something you can't help, but if that is things you can do to enjoy that, end of life after retirement a little longer, and why not? It's just like, why not? And like you said, there is a place for both. Like a lot of the hospitals in China, there is no separation of a acupuncture clinic and a hospital. No, it's inside the hospital.
Yeah.
They offer both, So I was like, why not? Japan, the same thing. Korea, the same thing. I'm not saying that they are perfect, but they're much closer to a better balanced life than we are.
And I don't know why there's no, I mean, I know why, but there should be reciprocity, right? As humans, right? Like, well, what are they doing over there? How can we get better? Why don't we adapt some of those ways? If we're really in it for the idea of like to make people better, then we're always going to constantly look and not just be like, nope, it's this way and the only way, and that's how we're going to do it. Nope, all the other stuff, it's,
exactly.
It's all like magic or whatever.
And it's like, we know it's not, right? If they are having longevity and they are actually enjoying life, like not just be, like we see people here getting to be 102 or whatever, but they are all deformed in a wheelchair or whatever. And that is like,
You said that made me sit up straight.
I know, full of
yeah.
arthritis and stuff, and in a lot of pain. But then you see an Asian person like back in their habitat with the foods they eat, with the qigons, with the exercises they do, on a regular basis. And they're older and they are doing everything. They're going to the stores. They're taking care of their family. They're cooking. And that's what I want to have. So when you decide what you want to have, then you start simulating that, those habits. What do I need to get there, And that's one thing. I'm not trying to not die, right? I know I'm going to do eventually, but I want to get to a later age and not be in so much pain. And being able to take care of myself and being able to, attend to my needs and not being just a vegetable in a bed and that's what I want, because I done that. I worked in nursing homes. I've seen what our elderly go through here in life, and it's not a pretty picture, it's definitely not. And I'm doing whatever I can now to prolong this independence, for as long as I can.
So yeah, you brought up a few things that I'm just going to highlight is that it's not one thing that's going to get you there. It's not one path that's going to get you there. It's a series of things, and that group of things may not all work for the same other person.
Oh no. You have to find your path, like you have, because if you're doing something out of like despise or anger, it's not going to work no matter how good I tell you it is for me, right? You need to find your own path, what it is that you do, what it is that you love, what it is that makes you happy, right? And that is why today we have so much problems with society, is that everyone wants to fit everyone in the same box, and we are not. We are so unique.
Right. Not only physically, but like,
exactly.
Yeah.
So I can't tell you this is my path, this is what you need to do, because let me tell you, my life is totally different than yours.
Right.
Like even my experiences, but I can tell you is that it's possible.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? If I did, you can do too.
Yeah, and that's one of the things too that I hope with this is that people can pull out what they need, and it's not like, hey, give me everything you did and I want to do just that. Like keep trying different things. And if it doesn't work, then throw it out. If it's like a toolbox. They say in the military, used to hear when they used to say, like, oh, here we fucking go again. But it's true. I say it now. It's like, put in your toolbox, all these different tools, and then take them out when you need them. If you can't do one, like I just put a post on Instagram about when I got hurt, like with the things I've learned from my injuries, is like to have a bunch of different passions. Like, so in the sense of like music or video editing or taking walks or hikes or riding a bike, whatever, like have a bunch in your quiver and pull them out as you need them, because you're not always going to want to do those things, and that way you're not one dimensional. You're not always, when that thing goes away, because let's say I don't know, I'm doing archery and I don't know, I can't do it anymore, then what am I now?
What next?
Yeah,
exactly. And when we only stick to one thing, you become a prisoner of that thing, right?
Exactly.
And that is the thing. Like, I see, and I always get myself inspired by, and what I tell people is that don't look at what you don't want. Get inspired by the things you want.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Because if we keep on hanging around the same people, watching the same shows, following the same people on Instagram, right? We're always going to be trapped in that little circle, and you can never break through it.
Yeah.
And don't do that, Find out what it is that you want, or at least where you wish you could get. Like, for example, I love to see American Ninja, right? I love when there's people there running the course with disability, like mental disability or leukemia, or people that overcame other types of cancers, or people that are amputees, Do I want to run a course of American Ninja? No, but they inspire me.
Right.
Does it make sense? Because I want to have that love, that passion, that freedom. I don't want to do what they are doing, but whatever is driving them is what motivates.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So break those walls and try different things. You know what I'm saying? Like, don't be scared of change, and be inspired by the things you want. And to be inspired by the things you want, you need to circle yourself with those things. Mm-hmm. And when I say those things, it's not, oh, I want money, be surrounded just by people with money. No, it's the people that motivate you. Like, if money is your thing, great for you, but find what motivate those people with money, or how do they work? And that's what we don't really pay attention to it, is that we get stuck in this little box, on this prison of mentality of society, and we're always feeding the same thing to our minds, right? So we never grow, because
we just become recycled information.
Exactly. So and that's the beauty of it. Like, I follow your Instagram and I love your reels, and Sandy, because you guys inspire me, like there are other people and other sites I follow, because like you said, instead of thinking of the ugly of social media, which, don't get me wrong, I despise the ugly side, but that is a good side to it, right? And then break those barriers, get rid of what you don't want in your life, and then start following and encircling yourself, surround yourself with the things you want, either being the energy, either being the motivation, either being, the ideas, because sometimes we lack ideas, right? But then there is this people that do all those different things, like you said, either archery or instruments or whatever, right? So if you can't think of ideas, then start following people that do multiple things, and they're happy, and maybe you will create ideas for yourself or the things you like, So
I've heard Andrew Huberman talk about information diet before, and it's just the idea of, we're humans are very highly influential, or highly influenced, and with that, it's comes with the idea, and I think people that make movies and like Disney and stuff, they understand that, like the programming they do, they've understood that for a while. And that you're able to, because I've seen it play out in my kids. Like as they grew, each show they would watch, they would start acting the way that they would act on the show, and start like carrying themselves that way.
We are so influenced by others that the grocery store you walk to, you're already pre-programmed to buy what they want you to buy. Yeah. Because of the colors they use, the way they set their products. Yeah. Because that's all marketing, right? Exactly. Yeah. And I'm like, it's just crazy. But even McDonald's, their colors are red and yellow for a reason, you
Right.
know, like, and people don't know that. And that's when we fall into these little patterns and routines, right? But we are influenced by everything in life.
So with that, if you choose to, like, if you're not aware of what you're watching, who you're following, what, like, you end up becoming that with what you follow, or the
just
circle that you're in.
Nailed it. Exactly.
Yeah.
You will become.
You will become that, your environment. And I see that within myself. I mean, it could work for the better, it could work for the good. So if you're following somebody that's motivational or doing good things, and you're probably going to do good things too. Following somebody that's just negative all the time and, you know, always just doing the same thing. And
the drama
and stuff.
Exactly.
Like, and your body doesn't know any difference. Like if you're watching always like scary, because I used to watch a lot of scary movies. That's just what I grew up with. But I didn't realize that was probably also affecting, not in the sense of just because like affecting my dreams and stuff, but more so like when you're watching like a thriller or something like that, your body doesn't know the difference. So your cortisol levels are rising. You're going through that. I remember watching movies and like my hands are a little sweaty right now. Like and your body starts to do the physical your physiology reacts to what you're watching because it doesn't know any difference. And I'm not telling you like you don't know. I know you know these things, but so with that, like if you're not aware of it and you're constantly doing it, and you're like, I don't know why I'm not sleeping. Again, going back to it, right? Start taking away things. It's like an elimination diet. Yeah. Start taking away all the foods. Get to a baseline of you know what's good for you. Do that for an extended amount of time where you're allowing your body to get back to the baseline where it should be, and then one by one implement those things to see like how your body reacts to them, and if it's fine, then you just keep going. And it's the same thing with information you watch or the news. News is a bad one. I was listening to a therapist the other day, Dr. Peter. God, man, it was Andrew Huber, but he was talking about that one of the reoccurring traumas that people put themselves in by just watching the news and staying stuck to the news and watching it. I had to like get away from the news because for a while there it was like it was doing that for me. Like some of the videos and stuff that they were showing from downrange, like it would just like remind me of stuff, you know. And I was like, fuck this, I'm not watching the news anymore. Now I do, but I watch different sources now. I watch investigative journalists, but my point is, it's like if you're not aware of that, you can't change it. You can't change it. Whether it's food, whether it's the things you watch, whether it's the people you're around, or anything like that. You know, I understand you want to be part of a tribe because we're by nature we're tribal people. I don't know if I'm saying that right, but we are tribal. But if our tribe is, you know, killing us, you know, softly.
Exactly.
Yeah, because it's so subtle, right? You know, anything.
And that's the thing. You can't find light if you don't acknowledge darkness, right? So if you don't open your eyes, if you don't understand that darkness that is holding you back or what is causing you, you would never find the light. Yeah. And it's just impossible. You can't. And so start opening your eyes, start making those little changes, and don't do it because Simon told you or Liz told you. You know, read about it. You know, do your research. Don't just take it because somebody said or this or that. Read about it and see if it makes sense, and if it does, then you start implementing. It's not going to be perfect today or tomorrow or a month from now, but I guarantee you, a year from now, you will be a different person than you were when you were just starting. You know. So, but that's true. The first step is understanding what is the darkness and what is holding you in a place. And then you will be able to walk towards the light. Because otherwise you would just continue to walk and not knowing, where am I walking? You know, what am I walking towards, you know? You don't know.
Exactly.
So it's that awakening process, is just being aware of you, of the things around you, and, you know, the feelings that you're having, things that are triggering you, you know, like, and be analytical. Ask yourself, why is this bothering me? You know, why is this triggering me? What kind of reaction is that? You know, oh, I took away the news and it made me feel this way, right? I took away all of the sugar slowly in 3 months, and how did it make you feel? You know, right. Be analytical, be a thinker. We have brains. We have the ability to think, right? Right. But we don't use it most of the time. You know, we just want to be fed whatever, you know, like, and that's why we follow those people, and influencers are so you know, popular in our world, because we just want to be, it's easier to be fed. Oh, this is a good product, this is a good shampoo, this is a good workout, this is a good.
Yeah, but you're not also understanding that they may be sponsored by some of those people, so they're just saying it because they just want to get the money of it.
So put in the work. Don't be afraid, you know, and you will see. You would just, I don't know, you will have a chance to be successful and be empowered and find, you know, what is best for you, and not because somebody told you so, but because you paved your own path, you know.
And also, like, if I could add, I mean, I'm going to add to that, like, to also discover, like, why you're doing it. Like, if you, it sounds so cliche, but it's like, find your why. But, like, if you don't find your why, like, why you're doing it, then you're always going to revert back to the old way, because it's hard. Like, so if you can identify, like, why did I start doing this journey, and whatever that journey is, like, I want to lose weight, or I want to, I don't know, climb this mountain, or whatever. Like, why
have less pain?
Yeah, have
right?
less pain,
or have a brighter day, or
right.
a happier day. Or,
yeah, I want to change something in my life. Why am I doing
Why?
it? And once you identify that profound why you're doing it, so when times get tough, you can always go back to, this is why I'm doing it. And because if that why is like superficial, and you just saying, cause I want to, I don't know, and maybe it'll work for you, but if it's just not really that profound and deep within you, whatever that why is, then you're always, more than likely, you're always going to reset back to your default setting, which is whatever it is that you're trying to get away from.
Yeah, because we, as humans, we will always gravitate towards the easiest, the negative, and that's just who we are. We're programmed primal, this way. Exactly.
Yeah, survival. And then, what was the other one you said?
The negative, and
which is the primal
easiest,
survival. Yeah, stay away from.
And the easiest route. Yeah. Right? The least of less the path of less resistance.
Because
right?
Efficiency.
Exactly. Yeah. But that does not, that most of the time, you may be happy that way, but most of the time, that's not the path for happiness, you know, or for thriving, or for whatever it is, you know, that you're looking for. You're going to have to put in the work, and you're going to have to police yourself to be more positive,
right?
You know, to find the positive on the situations and start shifting that way of thinking. And is every time you do that shift, you will see things different, and you go into a different.
I'm glad you said that, like, you kind of did the dial thing, because it's like, it doesn't have to be a dramatic shift, because you've been doing, not you specifically, but whatever age you're at, like, let's say you're 40 or 30 or whatever, that dial, when it was there, was at, let's say, 0 when you were born, and then it slowly shifted in the negative or positive over the years, but it's not with the balance of what your true nature is. So with the experiences of life, traumas, that dial has shifted negative, positive, back and forth, and maybe sometimes it's all the way negative, like, let's say, whatever. But if you can slowly change those clicks over time to get back to the balance of time, like, you know, look at it as a marathon as opposed to, like, I want to be better tomorrow, and I want that pill to get. It's not going to happen.
No,
because you have to retrain.
You can be a little better than who you were yesterday, but you would not get from point A to point B where you wanted to be in life,
right? Because
life is dynamic, and the circumstances will change.
Yeah.
So if you think you're going to make a plan in your mind and you're going to execute, and you're totally wrong, because life is dynamic and things will happen throughout life that will pull you off. But if you say, like you said, think of the why, and you know why you're doing things, you will be able to not be distracted by all of those life circumstances, and keep focused and keep going towards you know to be the right way, you know. But yeah, just understand life is dynamic, and things will come in and will tempt you, and you will be like really prone to just like give up, or I'll put it in the back burner, or not make that a priority anymore. You know, oh, my car broke, or so and so is sick, or this. But no, that is always going to happen. That is always going to be something else, you know. So don't stop life because life is hard. I watched, like, it's super cliche too, but I watched America's Got Talent, and there was the night birdie lady, and she came in. I don't know if you know her story, but she was final stage with cancer in her lungs, liver, and her spine, and she had a 2% chance of survival. And people were at all because she was there and she was performing and she sang her original, and they asked her, you know, why are you doing this? I mean, whatever. And she's like, or something that they said, and she's like, if you wait for life to not be hard, like, don't wait for life to not be hard to be happy. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because life, it will always throw stuff at you. And that stuck with me. She got the golden buzzer to go to the final, but she couldn't go to the final. Bottom line, she died with cancer, but she touched me in a way, you know, because it's so true. You can't wait for life to not be hard. Right? Because it's always going to be something. I thought that mobilizing was hard until I deployed. You know what I'm saying? I thought deployment was hard until I came back home. You know what I'm saying? It's just like, it's always going to happen. And if you need to know why you're doing things and know your goal and keep going and keep fighting. There's no other way around. But
yeah. And I had something, but no, those are really good points. Like, and it's just trying to always that's what I always say a lot. And that's what I try to keep is use every opportunity to make the right decision, even if it's like a shitty situation. Try to find the good in it. It's harder. It's easier said than done. But if you practice it, it becomes, you know, better, and that will open up other opportunities within that. Like, case in point, I mean, granted, I didn't have stage 4 cancer or whatever she had, and but when I went down the other day, I was pretty pissed about crashing, getting a setback, and then I kind of allowed myself to be in that place of like pain and accepted. They had to clean out the wounds and stuff, and I mean, it hurt. Like, it was taking rocks on my hand. I didn't have any, and I really don't. I don't take anything. And I take some CBD, so that's not totally true. But I've gotten away from pharmaceuticals, and I had to go to the ER. I didn't even want to get the shot, like, for the stitches.
the lidocaine, yeah.
The lidocaine, but they were kind of convincing me. But through that, I met a veteran named David Reed, and we had a great conversation in the truck. You know, on the way there, he took me there. I invited him back in the ER because I was like, he's gonna be over there. You know, he's at least give him some entertainment. You know, watch me scream or whatever. And so he came back eventually, and then we talked in there. And that probably would have never happened if I didn't, you know, start to shift my focus into the recovery phase, as I call it. Because it's like, all right, this sucks. This happened. Now I accept what happened. Now I need to start shifting into recovery, because your mind, you're whether you realize it or not, you're de-escalating your nervous system, you know, from the fight or flight or the adrenaline, and you're starting to kind of consciously move out of that. Yeah. Which is not something I've always done. And sometimes I took like weeks, you know, I was pissed off for weeks just because whatever. Anyways, so I did that, and that kind of led to other opportunities. You know, maybe he saw some stuff in me, and vice versa. I learned some stuff about him. And I got invited to go on the Medevac podcast, which they have. Nice. And so, and then it's just crazy, like, because if I didn't do that, and I would have stayed stuck in my own thought patterns, my old thought patterns, and just been like, fuck this, I'm gonna go back to the room, I'm gonna take an Uber back or whatever, then I would have never had those opportunities. You know, that day, even though I was in pain, we went on the lake later. You know, I hung out with them during the shoot and stuff, because they were like not listening to their stuff, but we were modeling their stuff and writing, and I had a great time. You know, I was in pain, but you know, that's an opportunity for me to. You
did the best. You could. That was the best outcome possible.
Yeah. So
right?
I mean, it's just shifting my perspective and my understanding of what's going on. Like, I'm not dying. Yeah, it sucks. I'm in pain, but there's an opportunity to learn what I'm capable of. I'm going to use this as a little test experiment. Granted, on the way home, I took some Motrin, because I made the mistake of having like some salted meats and cheeses, because unfortunately I had to stop doing 75 hard because it wasn't because of the workouts because I was still gonna do one, but I got behind my water way too behind, so I was like, fuck, I'm gonna have to restart. Anyways, but that's another opportunity to whatever. So, but yeah, other than that, like I didn't take anything else, you know.
Nice.
And the next day, yeah, I was in a little less pain. But my point is that, you know, I wouldn't have had those opportunities or got to meet and talk with somebody that who's also inspiring, you know, to me. You know, he's a single amputee, and his story is pretty amazing. And it's also like, the fuck you got to bitch about, dude? You know, like this is, it sucks. You're in pain.
Perspective, right?
Yeah.
It's just like life is good. What? You know?
And it's not discrediting like what you're going through or trying to use, but it's just like, you know,
because it's like you said, it doesn't have to be one way or the other. By appreciating and observing other people's journeys, struggles or journey doesn't mean that you're discounting yours, right? It's finding that balance, right? To understand, hey, instead of feeling like, oh, they said, oh, if you have depression, don't ever say, oh, other people have worse than you do. Well, depending on how you're taking it, right? Because sometimes I do look around and I see people struggling that it makes me realize, you know, that my struggles right now are a little better. And, you know, I can, if they can do it, I can do it too. Doesn't make sense. I'm not discounting my feelings or...
It's a source of inspiration.
Exactly. And again, it's how you see it. If you look at the negative way, you said, oh, no one understands me, no one appreciates my feelings, or, oh, because I haven't gone through this, or because I'm not dying of cancer. No, that's not the point. You're taking it wrong, right? It's just that if that person has so much going on and they can do it, so can you. Yours is not less or more because everybody wears a different shoes, right? All of our shoes are different, and it's going to be tight or loose in different ways. So it's not about comparing. It's about using other people's situation as inspiration and motivation to keep going instead of like looking the opposite way and saying, oh, no, I am really shitty or this, or because these people can deal with this and I can't, then my life is not worth. Oh, that's not the point, right? The point is use that as inspiration. You know, they are getting through, and they are having their struggles because we all do. And if I go talk to your neighbor next door, I guarantee you they're gonna have a story to tell. Does it make sense?
Yeah.
Go to a nursing home, talk to every elder. They all have a story to tell.
There was a General Welsh was one of the, I think it was a 4-star or 3-star at the time. Either way, he spoke at that was with his thing. Everyone has a story, you know, and he's probably one of the few people I met in the military that if you would have told me to run through a wall, I probably would. It sounds like
I know,
but he was that like
that inspiring,
a leader and that inspiring and what have you. But yeah, so it's again, who do you follow, you know, and that's kind of. I mean, there's a lot of nuggets to be taken out of this, and I think that's probably like a good note to end it on. You know, there's a lot more. There's a lot more on the that we left on the bone that I can unpackage, but maybe for another time. You know, but we can dive in deeper on some other stuff. But
anytime you feel like talking, you know me. I love to talk.
I appreciate. I feel honored that you shared your story with me, and also, I mean, for, you know, whoever listens or watches this, and hopefully they take nuggets and shift their focus or mindset, you know, from your story, and you know, and better themselves in whatever way that is. But thanks again. And if you guys are listening, appreciate y'all listening. If you guys are watching, appreciate you guys watching. Check us out. We're on Spotify, Pandora, any pretty much streaming app that is out there. Just search Crash and Chug, or you can, if you're listening on or watching now, if you're watching this. Or if you're listening to this, I'm so confused right now. If you're listening to this, you can check us on YouTube. Just search Crash and Chug. So vice versa, search Crash and Chug. That's the basis of it. But thanks for your time. And as always, do your own research, find your own path. And thanks for listening.
Well, thank you for having me. Thank you, everyone. If you listen, I hope you take something from it. if you ever need anything, any guidance and assistance, I know Simon is always here and willing to help. And you're not alone. That is a tribe out there waiting for you, to get you through whatever you're going through. But hang in there, don't give up, and, just reach out. I mean, that I always found help in other veterans. So
Yeah.
thank you for having me. Thank you for your mission. I really appreciate what you're doing, trying to spread the word and bring opportunities, awareness, or whatever it is to other veterans. And thank you for taking me under your wing and showing me what I'm actually capable of doing. So that was pretty awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, we got to do some more rides and get some more stories.
Retrospective vantage point of the place you are and what you've come from. Some find God, some find it hard, most find it difficult or let down their guard. New vulnerabilities, we find ways to dodge true feelings. I call it emotional agility. As a male, it's uncouth to be fragile. Taught to man up, keep the tears tucked, knowing life will buck, but trained to remain in the saddle, keeping a close eye on the cattle, closer eye on the wolves. Even when it seems you've hit the bottom, there's somebody.